Hello, I'm Mr. Morrow, and today we're going to look at Lulu Data Set 4. So in Data Set 4, we get some more genetic information, but this time it's broken down by alleles for us. If you don't remember what an allele is, remember that an allele can be a choice for any kind of trait that we might be looking at. So looking at traits, you might see on Section A alleles on this page that we have FCA 26. So don't get the marker confused. FCA 26 could be anything from how much hair the lion has, to how big the lion is, to how bad the lion's breath smells. So ABC there underneath FCA 26, that's just three different options it could be. If it's hair color, maybe it's black, blonde, or red. When we get to the genotype data in section B, we can find all the genotypes for all the females there, and a genotype is just two alleles put together. And then you have all the DNA or genetic information for the cubs. And then again, FCA 26, all the genotypes, which is just two alleles put together. So then we go ahead and we try to figure out what kind of parentage we might get from the cubs. And we find that out by comparing the cubs to the females. So in this case, keep in mind we are missing a little bit of data. We can go ahead and try to figure out who the moms are, but we can't really figure out too much about all the fathers because we don't have any of the male DNA. So let's go ahead and do what we can here. So we can see with Cub 709, 709 has a genotype of AC, and that means that it could have got A from either mom or dad, or it could have got C from either mom or dad. So knowing that, let's look at all the females that we could have got A from. Well, it looks like we can only get A from one female, and that's 628. Well, what are all the females we could have got C's from? Well, there's still only one female we could have got C's from. So that means that for 709, so far, we have a possibility of having mom be either 628 or 687. So let's look at the next trait, FCA 45. So FCA 45, and this might be something like how big the teeth are. So FCA 45, we got MM. Well, all of them got M's, all the females. And so we could have got that from anyone. So that doesn't really narrow our choices any. All right, well, let's go ahead and look at FCA 77 then. Let's say FCA 77 could be eye color. So for this one, let's go ahead and see, well, where could we have gotten S's from? Well, we could have got an S from 628, and that's an option. But we could have also got an S from 630. But we know 630 is not the mom because we couldn't have gotten that in FCA 26 because 630 doesn't have an A or a C. So that means that now we've narrowed it down to down to 628 because we can knock off 687 because there's no S's. She has a T and a U. So that means all we have left is 628. So now we figured out that Cub 709's mom is the female 628. So let's look at the questions really quick. So what observations did you make when viewing the genotypes? Again, an observation can be anything that you notice. Two, we're not really discussing with a group, but you're welcome to talk to other students if you like. How can we make sense of this genotype data, and how can it be used to determine parentage? So we have steps. So we just went through some steps to figure out 709's parents, or at least his mom. So think about the steps that we took and go ahead and write down the steps 1, 2, 3. And if you need more steps, it's a Google Doc, so you can go ahead and add them all you want. Step 3, did this data prove your hypothesis? Remember, your hypothesis is going to be located in Lulu Data Set 1, but you might have changed it in Lulu Data Set 2. So did this data prove your hypothesis? Why or why not? And then cite your evidence here. Keep in mind, in this data set, you only have really one piece of evidence, and that's the genetic information. But just say where in the genetic information kind of changed your mind. And then 5, what other information do you need to determine parentage? So keep in mind, we only had female lion DNA and cub lion DNA, so it makes it really hard to figure out who the father is. So think about what information you would need to determine that last piece, which would be the father.